It's 5:30. The Norfolk Public School District's Board of Education meeting is called to order. Roll call. Mr. McAllister.
Mrs. Bauer.
Present.
Mrs. Booth.
Present.
President Carhart.
Present.
Dr. Goebbels.
Here.
Mr. McNally.
Present.
Mr. Stanton.
Present.
We have a quorum.
This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. Please stand and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. First item is presentation and special recognition. We have focus on the students. Braxton Dreher at the middle school, STEAM teacher.
Hello, middle school students, you can come up here around me. So tonight we have Mr. Dreher's STEAM students. STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Mathematics. And these students have been developing some really cool things in their STEAM class, and they're here to show you those things. So I'm just going to introduce their names first, and they can give a little wave, and then I'm going to let Mr. Dreher talk more about what they have developed in the classroom. So we have Charlotte Lindahl, Vanessa Mesa Caballero, Alessandra Perry, Isaac Dowdy, Mason Wolf, Kate Collins, Maya Suarez, and Elizabeth Schindler. These students have been working really hard to develop some things in their classroom that can be utilized in real life in our other buildings within our district. So I'm going to let Mr. Dreher talk a little bit about that, and then the students are going to talk to you all about what they have developed.
Fantastic. So today what we're showing you are what are called sight words. At the elementary level, we all learned how to utilize our sight words, things such as can, will, and they. One thing that we've noticed is that in some of our schools, we have students who qualify as nonverbal. We have students who need extra help with both their fine and large motor skills. And so last year, as presented by one of our elementary special education teachers, could we make these sight words possible? I said, definitely we can try to do that, and a couple kids got interested. This year, as a formal lesson, I brought this to the students' table, expecting them to make 2. Some of these students up here have done way more than 2. Some of them took their own free time, and they made as many of 9 of their own sight words for the simple fact they wanted to help our students be successful here. It was awesome to see, and I also had students who decided it wasn't enough that we made them in English. We actually had some of our students who translated them into Spanish so that our students who speak primarily Spanish with their families would still be able to do it. Now I can stand up here and talk about it because I teach it, but I'd rather give my students a chance to actually explain it to you guys. So I'm going to send some of them to each of your guys' table. You'll probably be in clusters of 3. And so they're going to give you a chance to see what it is and explain what they do and how they work. I'll hand you this.
All right.
You ready? Let's go. I'll send you to these 3 right over here. You ready, you two? Right over here.
So students, I'm going to give you about 1 more minute to wrap up. All right. Well, we appreciate the school board allowing us to come and show off all of the cool things that we're doing at the middle school. I know that the kids certainly enjoy working with those 3D printers and designing things, and it's very cool to see all of the neat things that can be made. It's amazing to see them doing all of those things. So thank you very much for letting us present.
Thank you, guys. Nice job.
Thank you, middle schoolers. Next item is Austin Truex. He's the Executive Director of the Norfolk Public Schools Foundation, and he will give a report, his annual report. Thank you, parents, for coming and bringing your kids and supporting them.
Sure. For all 2 of them. Yeah. Just in time for everyone to leave. I understand. Picked the wrong board meeting. Those kids are way cooler than I could ever be. So, Austin Truex with the Norfolk Public Schools Foundation. I'm just going to give you guys our annual report, quick overview of what we've been working on with the foundation. Student scholarships this last year, we awarded $81,000 to the class of 2025. That was 77 different scholarship awards among the graduating class. And then moving forward for this next year, we have started recruiting some more Norfolk Public Schools specific scholarships. So scholarships within the community that aren't for NPS and other schools, they're just for NPS students. We're partnering with the elementary buildings and the Lions Club and a few other organizations to help support their scholarship offerings in coming years. Our classroom grant program, we awarded over $20,000 in our initial applications, and then since then we have found $8,000 in Help It Happen grants support from the community, and so that is 50 of the 53 projects that qualified this last year have been funded. So we've gotten 100% over the last few years, and we're going to keep on working until we have those last 3 projects funded as well. And then some of the other programs that we're working on right now, the Panther Pantries, that's at the middle school, junior high, and high school. Right now we are actually rolling that out into the elementary buildings as well, starting with Grant Elementary School. So it'll be great to have that resource available for kids at the elementary level as well. Our continuing education scholarship program continues to grow. So that is for teachers to continue their education in college, better equip them to teach our students here at NPS. So we awarded three $1,000 scholarships this last year. And those classes were taken over the summer and in the fall. And then the Norfolk Public Schools Hall of Fame is the next big ticket item that we're working on right now. We will be launching that this year at our annual Traditions event. But that is to honor and recognize alumni, former teachers, educators, people who have impacted Norfolk Public Schools. And so we're really excited to have that available for the school system now as well. And then I would like to remind and invite you guys again that Traditions is next week on Thursday, October 23rd from 4 to 5:30. That'll be at the Johnny Carson Theater. We're going to have our showcase of programs again. We'll have some students and teachers there to talk about the good work that they're doing with the support of the foundation. And so we would love to see all of you there if you can. So any questions about the ongoing work of the foundation? Perfect. I think I kept it under 2 minutes for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Next item is building visits. I can start. I went to Woodland Park this last month, and very nice school, good school. Enrollment is maybe down there. He wishes there was more students that came to Woodland Park, so we hope to continue to tell all the good things that are going on in Woodland Park and get their numbers back up, because they do some really great things at Woodland Park. It was nice to visit with the principal and see the teachers and the kids, and it was a good time. Thank you.
I'll go next. I visited the senior high school today. It was really, really fun. I got to visit the choir and the show choir and see a lot of my students that I had several years ago, and that was really super neat. I was able to talk to Mr. Settles, and we visited about the cell phone, how the buses were working out using the charter buses. We talked about teacher retention and how the teachers were feeling. We actually talked a little bit about how dances went and how those work. And it was really interesting because I was able to find out, like, there's a process if somebody's coming in from the outside, which I thought was really good to know about safety, that they really take a lot of steps to make sure that anybody coming in outside to the homecoming dance or prom or things like that, that they really check, and they even call parents, and I was really impressed with that. Talked about the status of posting things for clubs, and he talked through that and said that he approves everything. And I was like, yes, good job. So we had a wonderful visit. I had a wonderful visit, and I wanted to say about the cell phones. When he was in a few minutes, and I was alone kind of watching while I was waiting for him to finish some things, and the bell rang and the kids came through, and I had substitute taught before, and kids were on their phones, their heads were down. I didn't see that. I was just so excited. The kids were talking to each other, walking down the hallways, and I saw a couple people with their cell phones. They're allowed to have their cell phones during their in-between times, but I didn't see very many with them, and I was just super excited about that. So kids are talking to each other again.
I also visited the high school this past month, and Mr. Settles was gracious enough to do a walkthrough with me so that I could see all of the facilities updates that have occurred since I was in the high school last. I think the little theater conversion it makes for a much more flexible space that will be used much more frequently. Mr. Settles and I talked about lots of things, but I guess I just quickly focus on two. One of them is he shared that the chronic absenteeism rate has decreased 2% over the last couple of years. That seems not this year, but the 2 years prior. They have instituted a couple of things this year that I think will continue making a difference. One of those is what they call check and connect. So it's kind of the check in, check out, like I think you've heard about that some of the other schools are using, but this takes it a step further. It's different in that Mr. Settle said this fall they are identifying freshmen who are at risk of becoming chronically absent, and they have adults at the high school who volunteered to be mentors to all of those students. The idea is that those are students that need to be able to know that they belong, that someone at the school cares about them. So I think they're pretty excited about the potential that this will have on lowering chronic absenteeism even more. Another thing they're doing with chronic absenteeism, the new SRO, Hansen, I think his last name is, if I remember right, He seems to really be able to figure out how to get to students, in other words, how to go to where they are and try to encourage students to be in school. You know, they're approaching this not as a punishment for missing school. They don't want it to get to that point, but much more a support system, identifying the barriers that exist and figuring out the resources so that they can eliminate those barriers. So it was a great visit in that respect. The second thing he and I talked about, Mr. Settles and I talked about, was the PLCs. He feels like those are going pretty well at the high school. The PLC groups, submit their agendas to Mr. Settle, so he has an idea of what the topics are going to be for each meeting. But he said, you don't really know what's happening in those meetings. Do they get to everything on the agenda, or what's really happening? So he's instituted a reflection as part of each meeting. So people who are in those PLC groups will identify what worked, what didn't work, what questions they still have, and they submit those reflections then to Mr. Settles and Mr. Begeman so that they can provide professional development or just respond to the questions, which is great because you want it to be a continuous learning process. So really excited to see that it's accountability, but more importantly, it's professional development. I also was invited to Grant Elementary School to be their guest reader for Primetime Reading. Primetime Reading is a Humanities Nebraska program for 6 to 10-year-olds and their families. It's a 6-week program. So each week, the students get a book to take home, and they either read the book or the parents read the book with them. They come back, and then the book is read, and a facilitator, and in this case, it was Kari Cronin, who's a 2nd grade teacher at Grant, ask kids the questions about the book, and the idea is to get them to think critically and to really consider what they're reading. But it also serves as a model because all those parents are in the school listening to the story being read and listening to the questions being asked. So really trying to help parents learn how to encourage the kids to think about what they're reading. I read a book called Chooch Helps. It's a book about a little sister who feels like her little brother is making a mess of everything, even though he thinks he's helping. It's always fun to do that. I appreciate that they continually ask me to come back and to read and share books. They're my favorites.
Patty, back to these mentors, are they mentors from the outside?
No.
Oh, they're,
In the building.
okay, they're like teachers
They're-
or paras or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
adults in the building. Yep, thanks for clarifying that.
Information discussion items. First thing is Finance and Facilities Report. Eric Wilson. Is there anybody that would like to speak? I didn't mean to skip over you. Anybody like to speak? Now is your time. Okay, sorry about that. Information discussion items. Mr. Wilson, Finance and Facilities Report.
Thank you, Madam President. Total amount of claims to be approved on the consent agenda by specific fund are listed below. All of these claims were reviewed by the Finance and Facilities Committee earlier today. And just a couple points to note for my report. We have concluded our yearly audit on-site portion. They're finishing up the paperwork on that part. They will be back to us and present to the Finance and Facilities in November. We'll have an opportunity then for the board to accept that audit into record at the November board meeting. Also, beginning of October, along with Dr. Goebbels and Mr. Stanton, I attended the Labor Relations meeting in Lincoln. Had an opportunity there to learn more about NPERS, changes that are going to occur for schools, negotiations, federal reimbursements, all the fun stuff that's going on in that world right now. So good opportunity, and lots of stuff was brought back that we'll work through with the negotiations team too.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Teaching and Learning Reports. Jared Oswald.
Thank you, Madam President. We have our next day of PLC professional development a week from today, October 20th. We'll be working with a speaker from Solution Tree who will be coming to work with our pre-K through 4 teachers in the morning from 8 to 11:30, and then our our secondary teachers, our 5th through 12th grade teachers from 12:15 till 3:45, and we'll be doing those sessions at the Lifelong Learning Center. Our goal is it's a continuation of where we started the school year with a speaker from Solution Tree giving the groundwork for PLCs to really diving into now how successful PLCs function, how to get into really supporting students at a high level through PLC. So that's our goal for next Monday. So if any of you are interested, let me know, and I might be able to help you if you're interested in seeing a little bit of that PD. Good news, our fall testing is complete. We're now moving on to working through with our teachers and our PLC groups, our data conversations and setting goals. Big part of that process is those teachers working with their individual students to set student goals so that those students are motivated and they know what they need to work toward for our second round of testing next spring. So we're excited to see where those things go and how they can help us meet our goals. The last thing, I was able to attend the Nebraska Association of Curriculum and Assessment Directors this about a week and a half ago now. The three topics that were the main concerns for me that I took from the discussions were how other schools were working on the Commissioner's Goal, the Nebraska Literacy Project, and how they're using their CLSD funds. You may remember we were a part of a consortium through ESU 8, and we have some funds that we're working with to train our teachers on how to improve our literacy. There's also some changes coming to state assessments and accountability. We'll have some more information for you about that coming up probably later in the year for what next year is going to look like. And then lastly, it's just good to network with other people in a similar role as mine as we look at how we're supporting our students. It was good for me to be a part of the conversations and hear what other districts are doing to support their students. So very valuable time spent listening to them and getting some ideas. Any questions for me?
Thank you. Student Programs Report. Lynette?
Thank you, Madam President. First for me is a little bit of follow-up from the last board meeting on our Native American student enrollment, and we were just working on that when we spoke last time, and we have 196 students, or about 5% of our population is identified in our information system as Native American. And we were just giving out school supplies around that time too, and there were 132 backpacks with supplies that were picked up at that time. So we were happy to help provide some supplies that were much needed for some families. And also at that time, we had talked about the position that we still have open. The liaison position is still open. And after talking with the group last time, we had talked about the liaison. A lot of people were saying they were more interested in a full-time position, and we had talked about spreading the pay over more time, but since it's a 10-month and it's an hourly position, the pay has to be dispersed during the time period in which they worked. But I did contact the liaison at the Ponca tribe, and they said that they were mentioning it at their meetings regularly to see if there was someone interested in applying for the job. So we're still searching and looking, and Stacy Uzell in my office is doing a great job keeping up with. We had to fill out an AFR report that was due and got that done in plenty of time, and very pleased and happy to be working with her, and we're, I think, doing a good job there, so appreciate her help. Next for me was the NASA's Fall Conference in September, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. I was in Lincoln. The first day was for our new NASA's members, new directors in the position, and I'm guessing about 50% of our directors in the state are in their first 5 years. And so it was helpful to be all together to help. I was on a board or that was able to answer questions for new directors. We talked a lot about finance because that's the first big thing in October. We have a lot of reports that are due on early childhood, and they're looking at transition files at the high school, junior high school. And so it's good to be able to get together and answer questions, and you still always learn something when you get in a group together, and it was nice to have that time. The next day that we had was Curtis Ray Hill was the presenter, and he talked about a culture of belonging and making sure we're building relationships, having that human connection with our students and our families to reach them and be able to provide those services that students are in need of. And in the afternoon, Sioux City presented their Alt Ed Pathway programming, which looks quite similar, I think, to some of the programming that we offer here, but it's always nice to see the ideas that other schools have and are utilizing. And then the final day on Friday was spent with our state director, Amy Rohn, and she went through what she calls the State of the State report, where they update us on the most recent happenings and findings, which Nebraska just went through as a state, their review. And so the reports are starting to come in, not completely yet, so they're starting to share information with us about things. And it sounded very positive overall for the state of Nebraska, so that was good. A lot of the information is coming out for our littles. They're really a little bit concerned that most referrals for our Part C program come at 19 months. And is that too late sometimes to get students and families the help that they need? And about 40% of those referred at that time are eligible for services. So, are there things we can do to be more helpful and do better? The other thing that they talked with us about was the location of services. Many times with the littles, the services are provided at childcare. And so would working with the parents be more advantageous? And just a lot of questions, but a lot of answers as well. So, and finally, they wanted to make sure that on our targeted improvement plan for all the schools in the state that we are focusing on fourth grade reading, which it's been part of our plan for many years here. I think over 8 years I look back, and it is on reading. So we'll continue to work on that for them. Last but not least is the sped count. We're just getting that last September day count in, and preliminarily it looks like there were about 966 students in the district identified with an IEP, which is about 22%, which is, it's increased a bit over the past couple years. The data that's available on the Nebraska Education Profile was 18% back in 23-24. So it's at least a 4% increase as of right now. And we'll get that all finalized and, connected. And hopefully next month we'll have more information when it's finalized on that and ready to go. You have any questions?
Is there anything that, what happens if we can't fill the liaison with a Native American? Is the program affected in any way, or is it?
I think, I'm going to check with the national, actually. There's some online videos and things you can watch, and they do have a contact person. The last Zoom that we had was good, and then they went to break us into groups, and it totally broke the connection, and so we weren't able to ask questions, and there wasn't follow-up on it. So I'm going to follow up, but hopefully, like I said, Ms. Uzell and I are trying to really keep track on things and make sure we're doing what we need to do for that.
Just looking at some data that Mr. McAllister gave, last year it shows that we had 817 special ed students. So that's over 100 more.
Got it off the State of the Schools report, so that might have been previous years. So, yeah, so
We're up a lot.
just the kids, and that would put us at the top of that
Yeah,
category as well.
you're right. Okay, thank you, Lynette. Okay, next is Student Services Report. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Madam President. This month, we were able to have an active shooter tabletop discussion. I was able to bring Bobby Reiser in. She is the Region Emergency Manager for that tabletop discussion. We had Norfolk Police, Madison County Sheriff's Department, State Patrol, Norfolk Fire and Rescue, Faith Regional, and I was able to bring in our parochial schools as well as most of our safety team. We were able to work in this room, set up a map of the high school. She gives a scenario of a shooting at the high school, and it's just great teamwork, collaboration, conversation of this is how Norfolk Police is going to interact with the State Patrol and how they're going to work with Fire and Rescue. And she has little toy guys that we bring out for this is where we're placing the command center. She's got toy police cars that this is where they're going to be parked. This is where the fire trucks are going to be parked. Obviously, they're going to shift from one side to the other and cover all the exits and all that. So it was good to see how they work together. our administrators were so impressed by the conversation that Bobby and I are working to try and get a similar exercise set up for just our principals. And we got that set up here at about 4:30 for a date in June. So we'll do the same thing of, we also talked about maybe doing an exercise like this in an actual building. So we'd still have the map, but then we can go to certain exits and having those conversations of what that would look like. Where exactly would you want command center to be outside and things like that. So it becomes a very real scenario that you hope you never have to think about. However, it was good to have all those entities in one place. Next thing, last year, as we went through the legislative session, Dr. Thompson asked me to go testify before the legislature. As I talked with Mr. Delaney or Dr. Delaney with NCSA, he put together an educators academy for legislative advocacy. So I was able to go to that this month. Took us through the history of the Nebraska unicameral. Here's why bills are debated. Took us through, this is a good process to work through. These are key things to think about as you write your testimony. And then finally on the second day, the night before, they gave us a bill that had been passed in 2002. At least that's when mine was. I had to research it and I had to look it up, and then I had to write new testimony for it and go before a mock panel. They give you feedback. They tell you what you did great. They obviously tell you what you did wrong. They have a couple of their fake legislators are very nice, and then they have a couple that are not very nice to you. So I felt it was a very fair representation of what I experienced last year. But a good experience, and I would encourage any of our directors to go through that as well. So, and then last Thursday and Friday, I took 16 educators from Norfolk Public Schools to the MTSS Summit in Kearney. Our Jefferson team, we had five of our team members there, the principal and 4 teachers. They were able to present on fixing some behaviors and tying it back into academics, so you can see how, as they were getting behaviors under control, some of their academic scores were increasing after that. So very good presentation, very well received, a lot of positive feedback for them. Sessions that I went to was aligning our MTSS goals to district goals, creating behavior plans, a lot of tier 2 interventions, which is what our kids need. And our staff, as I talked to some of them afterwards, they expressed gratitude that they were able to attend, and they look forward to strengthening their teacher leadership teams in their respective buildings. So it was a very well-done conference and a lot of positive comments from our people that attended. Last Friday was last day of the first quarter, which is hard to believe. Parent-teacher conferences are going on right now. I put those dates and times in there for everybody. You can see the middle school was here tonight, even though conferences are going on in their building. And then last, but certainly not least, probably what you're most anticipating for, the junior high cell phone update. Mrs. Linton, a couple of her comments. The cell phone policy at the junior high has been going very well. They have had minimal violations of the policy, and it has greatly decreased behaviors such as students meeting up or taking pictures or videos of other students and the added drama that comes with it. And then one of their staff members stated, "I love our new phone policy. I feel like we have less discipline problems this year. I especially love that students actually are having conversations and talking to each other at lunch. Overall, the teachers feel this has been a very good change for the building." So they're seeing a lot of the same things that Cindy, you got to witness at the high school. So, and then I asked them to track office referrals. In September of 2024, last year they had 20 office referrals for phones. This year they've had 10 in September. And then the running total a year ago, they had 37 phone violations at this time. Currently they've had 16. So you can see we've cut things by a little over half. So very good, positive feedback for you guys.
We get junior high reports every month, or will we get some high school reports too, or how's this reporting going to work for cell phones?
When we discussed it last year in policy committee, we focused on the junior high as maybe being kind of a pilot run. And so as our conversation went through, it was, can we get a monthly report from the junior high? Just to see how it goes, if they wanted to look at making it stretch further, so.
Person accreditation, Angie Bowman, she's not here, so who's going to talk for Angie?
I am.
Okay.
All right, so Mrs. Bauman has these upcoming job fairs on her schedule at USD, Nebraska Wesleyan, UNL, and USD. This fall, we currently have 8 student teachers working with us. Right now, we have a request for 21 student teachers, and I think we're just working on filling all of those for the spring. She was also able to attend the Labor Relations Conference. She highlighted sessions that she attended that focused on recruitment and retention, labor issues, employee accommodations. And then Mrs. Bauman was also able to attend a continuous improvement workshop hosted by the NDE. Sessions focused on continuous improvement tools, role clarity, systems and processes, and NDE external visits, which we will have ours next year. So we're preparing for that.
Thank you, Jared. Superintendent's report, Mr.
I have
McCall.
a quick question. Is the spring, there's 21 student teachers that applied versus 8? Is that typical?
Yeah,
It's always more in the spring?
It is almost always more in the spring, just because more students are finishing up in the spring versus the fall.
Superintendent's report, Mr. McAllister.
Thank you, Madam President. A few things here. The building leadership team, that's all of our building principals. We meet tomorrow. We meet twice a month, which is always insightful to and we're trying to get that to be more conversational about our PLC process. Our COLT team meets weekly or bi-weekly in some cases. We had our first teacher advisory committee meeting last week, or on Friday, and it lasted about 2 hours, and it was good. They submitted their questions or comments, concerns, at least 24 hours in advance, so I could do any research on some things, and I think that went real well. Angie and Eric also sat in on that meeting. We also had our first central office staff meeting, so all the secretaries and everybody, and again, just their agenda, and kind of listening to them and see what insights and help they have. And one of those was when we lose someone, we don't really have job duties or job descriptions for our secretaries and stuff, so we're creating a job duty list just as they go through the year, putting down what you do weekly, daily. Hey, every October you have to do this, and then specifically what type of training do you need, if that's Infinite Campus, if that's on the portal, what training do you need? So that transition will hopefully be easier. Had the opportunity to visit with high school freshman class again. I presented to the middle school at their monthly meeting and spoke with the Rotary Club last week as well. Our visiting schools is going well. I continue to hear good things about that from everybody attending. And I also really enjoy the PLC meetings. I try to make 2 or 3 of those each Wednesday. And I've really enjoyed the activities that I've been able to attend. I'd never been to an orchestra concert before, and I was blown away. It was really good. It was really good last week. So that's my report if there's no questions.
Is the COLT team still seeing the schools? They start every day, or weren't they going every day? They had to go to one school?
Yes, we're still doing that. We did kind of change a little bit. You don't have to start your day there. I told the elementary principals, I've seen your openings over and over and over again. Now, the high school, the junior high, middle school, some other schools, it's real beneficial first thing in the morning. But the elementary, sometimes it's more beneficial to wait a little bit and go so you can kind of talk to people, because you see that opening where they gather all the kids in the gym over and over. So I kind of want to talk about some other things, and everybody's busy at that time. So it's helped me to be able to go at different times, and especially during the PLC times.
So others, what do you guys have? You've enjoyed it, Lynette, Jared, Chuck, Eric. What have you learned, or what have you seen that's been interesting?
It's just been good to be able to be back in the buildings more. shouldn't have taken Mr. Mack pushing us to get out there. And, we all tried to get out there as much as we could, but, a couple times a week, but making a commitment every day to be there, just, again, helps make you more connected with what's going on, and you hear some things that, oh, didn't know about that, let me help address that.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Being here for the first time last year, I made it a point once a week to go to a school and hang out for an hour, hour and a half, whatever the case may be, walk around, see teachers in action, just because I know coming from a building that I didn't want to lose that connection to the schools, and I'd been in one building for so long that I knew I needed to see others. So this year, it's obviously going every day. It's been great to see all of the buildings a lot more, have conversations with teachers that I otherwise would not have seen. I know that they always express their gratitude. They enjoy seeing us. They enjoy conversing with us. So it's been good, and it's always good to see our kids do their thing too. So.
Yeah, I take the time to focus on the teaching and learning side. So I want to get in and see our curriculum programs, see how things are working, see how our students are responding. I told the teachers when I talked with them, I'm interested in seeing the student learning. So if it's not everybody sitting in straight rows facing the board, that's fine. We want to focus on the learning part. So it's just been good to gather that information, have conversations with teachers about what they think, where our resources are. And then every time I get into a building, I feel like I talk to the principals for a little while too about what they're seeing and how we can help support them as a teaching and learning department.
For me, I've enjoyed just really getting to know people. There's a lot of new faces and a lot of new names, and for me, I'm visual, so putting a name with a face really does help me. In the beginning, it was good to kind of meet with the principals and that kind of thing, but now I'm to the point where I go right for the classroom. I can't wait to see what the kids are doing, and they are so excited to show you what they're working on and what they're learning, and sometimes if you walk by home ec at the right time, you might get some banana bread or something like that, so it's all good. I've really enjoyed meeting the staff and the students.
Thank you.
I have to say, one of my favorite places is the alternative ed building at the high school. I was there again today, and I just have fun with those kids. It's fun, and it's important that they see you as well.
Their aquarium, you look at their aquarium and their fish and all that. Are you there? What? Frogs.
No, I did a card trick today for them, so they thought that was pretty awesome.
Wonder, they think you're fun. You got all the tricks. Okay. Committee reports. Finance and facilities. To be myself, we just met at 4 o'clock today. We reviewed and discussed the Union Pacific Railroad lease. We'll vote on that later. Facilities update, expenditure report, and the annual audit that just was completed that Eric will talk about. Those are the things that any questions for the finance and facilities? Okay. Policy committee report, Tom Stanton.
So the policy committee met on October 6th. Patty and I were present. Cindy was excused. She was on vacation at that time. The policies that we discussed and reviewed are listed. Points of interest were we reviewed internal controls. We added travel cost and some language from our attorney per the NDE. We also had a previous change of changing the terminology to simplified acquisition threshold. The first reading of this policy was done last month. We reviewed option enrollment policy 5006. We talked about the number of students for the 26-27 school year to be adopted, and that will be at the next board meeting in November. We reviewed policy related to foreign exchange students. We reviewed policy related to the suspension of policies. And then we also reviewed policies related to giving notice for meetings. We added a weather delay language as to how if we had a weather event that would delay or cancel the board meeting, how we would communicate that. And then we will also have the first reading of policies tonight listed there below, and our next meeting will be November 3rd. Any questions?
is actually the
Thank you. Activities Committee report, Terry Bauer.
At September 29th at 12 noon, myself, Tom Stanton, and Brenda Carhart were present. We went over all of the numbers of student athletes based upon last year and this year, and everything was pretty level. We have a couple things on our action item tonight that we're going to go over and we're going to vote on. One is the Circle of Friends. We did that pilot last year for 2024. I think we're have it on there as an action item to have it, and it's already in our budget, right? Yeah, have it in our budget for that. Then we also are extending our softball cooperative agreement for 2 years, like we've done. It's just every 2 years we got to redo it. And then the only other thing that's going to have a change is that, let's see, this is for swimmers. So Wisner Pilger has no swimmers anymore, so we're going to delete them and we're going to add Wayne. Any questions?
Does that, do you change that yearly based on the swimmers from different schools wanting to participate, or is Wayne going to be on there for the next couple of years?
So it's 2 years is how that we look at it every 2 years. Wisner Pilger didn't have anybody, so we were able to grab Wayne that did have swimmers.
Thank you, Terry. Superintendent evaluation. This is a lot of numbers here. So Superintendent Evaluation Committee met last Monday, October 6th. Tom Stanton and Terry and I met. We picked out an evaluation form for our superintendent. Since then, NASB has sent that evaluation form to Mr. McAllister to do his own self-evaluation. He said he has completed that evaluation, and we will get that evaluation back on Thursday, and then I will send that out to the rest of the board. Also on Thursday, in your email, you will get your own evaluation to do on Mr. McAllister. You will have from Thursday until next Saturday, the 25th, to complete your evaluations. Then once you do NASB, we'll put the results back together, and they will email me on Friday, October 31st. I will then send them out to our evaluation committee. We will meet them between October 31st and November 10th sometime to go through the results. And then at our November 10th meeting, and we will also send them out to the whole board then. And then in our November 10th meeting, we will discuss the superintendent evaluation as much as we can. We will summarize it, I guess, together on November 10th. So that's the evaluation for Mr. McAllister. Please look in your emails on Thursday.
Thursday the 23rd, right? Or
Thursday the 16th, and then we have until, it'll just be in your email. You fill it out online. And you have until Friday or Saturday the 25th. So approximately 9 days. Then the board self-assessment, NASB recommended that we do that later. So we will get that. We will get that on Monday, October 27th, our board self-assessment. And we will have until Monday, November 3rd to complete that. NASB will then, I've been working with Marcia Herring, trying to get her to come maybe November 10th earlier, that we can meet in groups of 3 to go through our own self-evaluation assessment results. And if I can't get her on the 10th, the day of our meeting, we'll try for November 12th. But I'll let you know what her schedule is. But we thought breaking it in, we would, breaking it up between having little committees and talking about our self-evaluation as board members. Is there any questions on our superintendent evaluation or self-assessment?
So I did just want to note that the superintendent evaluation that's being sent out is different than the one we used most recently with Dr. Thompson. And so we have a great opportunity with Mr. McAllister. where we get to evaluate him, but we also get to evaluate the tool we're using to evaluate superintendents. So it's a different rating scale, and I just want to encourage everyone to, as you're reading through those questions and rating, the superintendent, really look at some of those questions and ask yourself, is this a relevant question? If I'm saying I don't have information on this area, why? Is it something that we wouldn't have information as a board member? Like it's not a relevant question? Or is it something that we need a superintendent to be more visible in?
Thanks, Tom, for bringing that up. I did mention that, but yes, new one.
So is this a modified NISB superintendent evaluation? Okay.
Yeah. It has a 5 or 6 point rating scale, and there's also an option for not applicable. So you have much more range of rating, and it's asking you to provide more specific detail with your rating.
On mine, it wasn't non-applicable. It was
Not observed?
No, it was no identifiable data to support your opinion one way or another. Evidence was the word I was looking for. There's no evidence to support your opinion.
We thought we might try another evaluation in the spring, just to give us more exposure to different superintendent evaluations. Okay, District Wellness Committee report. Cindy Booth, tell us about your Wellness Committee.
Our Wellness Committee had our first quarter meeting on September 17th, and the chairman of that is Bruce Strong from Woodland Park. And each building brings one representative to be there to represent the school. So it's really a fun committee. The Wellness Committee met at 4 p.m. in the small boardroom. A lot was accomplished. It's going to be a really fun and exciting and healthy year. Thanks to a grant in the amount of $5,000 that we received, the Wellness Committee is going to be able to focus on the physical and mental health of the NPS staff. Requirements for the grant include wellness, nutrition, and physical activities. At this report, the first quarter health goals will begin with a personal health assessment, they've done this in the past, and attendance at the Patch Fair. There was drawings held, and several of the teachers were able to win a gift card. Lots of creative and fun ideas were also discussed as possibilities for the remaining 3 quarters. And again, some updates on that. We talked about ideas included puzzle nights, escape rooms, bowling, pickleball, and everybody agreed that we would also like to be doing the ice skating again because it was so successful last year. They had a lot of fun, and a lot of teachers took advantage of that. So they already have a date for the bowling activity, November 14th, and that will include bowling, mini golf, the arcade, and virtual reality. January, February will be the ice skating, and they've already set a date now for March 27th to do the pop-up escape room. The budget was also discussed in addition to our triannual assessment, which is coming up next year. It was a great meeting with lots of participation, discussion, and these people are very creative. I really enjoyed being a member of this committee.
Thank you. Okay. Norfolk Public Schools Foundation report. We met on September 15th. During the meeting, Bill McAllister was introduced to our directors. Insight Financial provided the quarterly report. We talked a lot about traditions, which will be coming up. That's one of our big fundraisers on October 23rd. In our effort to get more visibility out and get people more knowledge of the foundation and what we do and what we stand for, we were in the Lions Club parade. Also, Austin's good about getting to chamber events or just trying to promote more awareness of the foundation. We also did the staff campaign. We didn't bombard them right at the beginning and ask them for money. We waited until they got through all their orientations and filled out all their paperwork, and then we came back later and told them about the staff campaign. And this is a big deal because it's the first time in 5 years, I think, that we have not decreased our amount contributed to the staff campaign. We are just kind of broke even. So that we are very excited about just breaking even. And then the last thing is we want to start a Norfolk Public Schools Hall of Fame, and that person will be recognized at Traditions. So we're looking at the policy and the guidelines and how that Norfolk Public Schools Hall of Fame will come together, because we currently do not have a Hall of Fame. A lot of other schools do, so we've gotten their guidelines, and we're just kind of putting things together and copying other people's that we like, and trying to create our own then. Any questions?
Will the Hall of Fame winners be displayed anywhere?
Yes, yes, in the junior, at the high school, in the Johnny Carson entryway, in those halls there. Okay, consent agenda. We have minutes of the previous meeting. They are attached. And we have personnel, contract approval. Mr. McAllister.
This is a contract for Whitney Port. She is a former employee. Most recently, she's been at the Norfolk Public Library Youth Services Supervisor. So I would recommend us hiring her. She's going to be the 7-8 special education behavior teacher at the junior high.
And when would she start if we approve her tonight?
I think tomorrow. Or Monday, is that right? I think it's Monday.
And what was she when she previously taught the junior high?
She was science, junior high science.
She does have special ed? She's working on it.
And I think it's in the behavior area that she's working on, so it will be a good fit.
Do we have someone who can help mentor her? Yeah, because I think that's especially important when you're jumping into the behavior program. It's not an easy program. So I appreciate that we've got that kind of support for her. Thank you.
And claims, Eric Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Attached are the claims. These claims were reviewed earlier by the Finance and Facility Committee. There are 5 conflict statements that will need to be read prior to voting, though.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Patty and a second by Tom. Are there any conflict statements to be read?
I'll go first. Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on claims 864 and 866 for the month of October in the consent agenda for this meeting. I've signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It's my intent to vote on all the remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the items which I've identified, or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on claim number 1577 for the month of October in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the item which I have identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Out of abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on claim 863 and 868 for the month of October in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the items which I have identified, or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on claim number 862 and 865 for the month of October and the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the items which I have identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
And finally, out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on Claim 861 and 867 for the month of October in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or another on the item which I have identified or any other matters set forth therein or related thereto. Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Action items 9.1, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the first reading of the revised board policies 3132, internal controls, and 8342, designated method of giving notice of meetings. Mr. McAllister.
The Policy Committee reviewed the following policies and recommended revisions, which were previously discussed in the committee's report. Any questions on those policies? I think a question was brought up about giving notice, and it simply states a weather delay in the event of inclement weather, which makes it dangerous or unreasonable for board members or members of the public to attend a meeting for which notice has already been given. Such meeting may be postponed by the board president or superintendent. The board will communicate the delay to each board member as well as members of the public by posting it on the district's website and by following the same communication protocol that the district follows when student attendance at a school is called off due to inclement weather. When possible, the board president and superintendent will attempt to communicate the information to local media members and business owners to assist in notifying the public of the delay. Notice of the date and time and location of the postponed meeting will be advertised as required in the notice above section.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of revised board policy 3130, internal controls, and 8342, designed method of giving notice of meetings.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Terry and a second by Cindy. Is there any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
9.2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the second and final reading of revised board policy 3550, rebates to school personnel, and 9320, order of business. Mr. McAllister.
There have been no changes to these policies since the first reading.
Make a motion to approve the second and final reading of revised board policy 3550, rebates to school personnel, and 9320, order of business.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Terry and a second by Patty. Is there any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
9.3, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the renewal of the softball cooperative agreement with Lutheran High Northeast and Norfolk Catholic High School. Mr. McAllister.
All agreements with Norfolk Public Schools will be for 2 years, the 26-27 and 27-28 school years. It is the recommendation of the activity committee to renew this co-op.
I'll make a motion to approve the renewal of our softball cooperative agreement with Lutheran High Northeast and Norfolk Catholic High School.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Tom and a second by Cindy. Is there any other discussion? So our cooperatives is we have Norfolk Public School kids fill the roster first, and then if we have extra, we take them, or how does everybody get a chance?
If you co-op, there's no cutting. That's our agreement, as I understand that. So there's no cutting athletes when we co-op.
Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
9.4, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the renewal of our boys' baseball cooperative with Lutheran High Northeast and Norfolk Catholic High School. Mr. McAllister.
Again, this co-op is for 2 years, the 26-27 and the 27-28 school year, and it is also the recommendation from the Activities Committee to renew the co-op.
I'll make a motion to approve the renewal of the boys' baseball cooperative agreement with Lutheran High Northeast and Norfolk Catholic High School.
Second.
A motion by Patty and a second by Steve. Is there any other discussion?
I just have a question. Is there a lot of students from the other two schools coming in, and is it costing us a lot of extra money to include them? Just curious.
Oftentimes in softball, baseball, Norfolk Catholic and Lutheran High don't have numbers to fill a team, so that's where the co-op comes in. And with that, you can't cut, so it's been a good thing for all of our programs over the years.
Is it costly to have those two extra schools come in? I guess, Eric, would you know that?
So, finance-wise, the families that are currently living within our district are already paying taxes within our district, okay? And then, but if it's a student from Bel Air, or Battle Creek that's attending Lutheran High, they do have to pay if they don't live inside of our district. They have to pay a small fee to be part of the team.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
9.5, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the girls and boys swimming cooperative agreement with Lutheran High Northeast, Norfolk Catholic High School, and Wayne High School. Mr. McAllister.
Wisner Pilger will no longer have any swimmers and will be removed. Wayne Community Schools will be added. All agreements are for 2 years, and is the recommendation of the Activities Committee to approve this co-op.
I make a motion to approve the girls and boys swimming cooperative agreement with Lutheran High Northeast, Norfolk Catholic High, and Wayne High School.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Patty and a second by Tom. Is there any other discussion?
Motion carried, 6-0.
Discuss, consider, and take action to approve Circle of Friends as an allied activity at the Norfolk Senior High. Mr. McAllister.
As Terry mentioned, Circle of Friends was approved as a pilot allied activity at the senior high during the Board of Education meeting on January 10th, 2024. If formally approved as an allied activity, the finances of the club will be managed by the school district within the activities fund, and the sponsor will be paid according to the extra duty salary schedule number 10. Number 10. The Activities Committee recommends that Circle of Friends be officially approved as an allied activity.
I'll make a motion to approve Circle of Friends as an allied activity at Norfolk Senior High.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Tom and a second by Patty. Is there any other discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Cindy. Because this was piloted before several of us were on the board, I guess, and also for the public's benefit, I just appreciate a little bit of a summary of what the goals of this Circle of Friends activity, what those goals are and what's the benefit of it, just kind of give us the summary.
Those were my questions coming in too. There are 70 participants and 60 mentors in this program with 10 target students on IEPs. Impact on overall activities, Circle of Friends, mentors that participated in unified sports have grown our athletes' population because they have a trusted friend in the activity. Unified Bowling had a major increase in both athletes and partners after Circle of Friends grew in numbers in the 22-23 school year. COF volleyball tournament, dodgeball nights, pumpkin paintings, holiday parties, Easter egg hunts, etc. The annual cost is split between two sponsors, and they split $1,594 as what they fall on that salary scale. Opportunities, students have more opportunities to cheer on their peers in activities, as COF has Panther Posse events where we sit near the high school posse to feel included, yet have a safe and quieter place to watch the games. We also have a table designated at each dance, homecoming, winter, royalty, prom, to help those students who would normally not attend a dance have an additional opportunity to participate in memorable school activities.
Thank you.
So what is the total cost of the sponsors when you add them together?
Just under $1,600, $1,600.
For each sponsor or total?
They
That's
split that.
Okay.
They split it.
All right, thank you.
Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
9.7, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the Norfolk City Education Association as the exclusive bargaining agent for the non-supervisory certificated employees for the 2027-2028 school year. Mr. McAllister.
We have received a formal written request by the NCEA, Norfolk City Educational Association, to be recognized as the exclusive collective bargaining agent for non-supervisory certified staff. This action is required each year by the Nebraska state statute. We have not received any other requests. Therefore, I recommend that the request be approved.
I'll make a motion to approve the Norfolk City Education Association, NCEA, as the exclusive bargaining agent for the non-supervisory certificated employees for the 2027-2028 school year.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Patty and a second by Tom. Is there any other discussion?
I just have a question. Is there another bargaining organization besides this one that has submitted to us? Is there in the state another organization that does that?
In the state, I can't answer that. Here, no, at Norfolk Public.
Thank you.
Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
9.8, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the lease of property with Union Pacific Railroad. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. The fenced storage area behind the district maintenance building has always been owned by Union Pacific Railroad. Norfolk Public Schools uses that area for storage and parking. We were contacted by Union Pacific to inform us that we would need to lease that property if we wanted to continue to use it, or that we would need to remove our stuff from their property. This is a yearly lease of $5,000, which is their minimum lease that they allow. If we lost this space, we would be hard pressed to find room to store our equipment and materials that we have out there. A different space would also most likely be further away and cost us a lot more. I'd recommend moving forward with this lease for the next year and answer any questions anybody has.
I'll motion to approve the lease of property with Union Pacific Railroad.
Second the motion.
I have a motion by Steve and a second by Patty. Is there any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
9.9, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 2026-2027 option enrollment capacities. Mr. McAllister.
I did realize I brought my wrong glasses, and I'm struggling here, but if my arm could get a little longer. According to state statute, public schools must adopt an option enrollment resolution annually, setting grades and program capacity and indicating which grades, levels, and programs are open for option enrollment students based on those capacities and projected enrollment. For the 2026-27 school year, our projections indicate that we will be at capacity in grades 9 through 12. The grades that will be accepting option enrollment students in next year are K-8 in all grade levels.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026, 2027 open enrollment capabilities. Sorry.
A second.
A motion by Tom and a second by Terry. Is there any other questions, discussion?
I do have one question for Callan. Callan, do we need to put that number in there?
The numbers are attached in the
Okay.
appendix, so. So the motion would be to approve the appendix.
Make a motion to approve the appendix to the 2026, 2027 open enrollment capacities.
I'll second that.
Motion by Tom and a second by Terry. Is there any other discussion? Did we need to void that first?
I
think we
Tom
have
would
too
to
many
modify
motions.
his motion.
Modify, yeah,
We can amend the motion.
amend it. So Tom, you'll amend your motion and Terry will second that amendment.
Third time's charm.
Yep.
So I would like to amend my original motion to approve the 2026, 2027 open enrollment capacities
I'll second that.
to include Appendix 1.
Second that.
Okay.
Okay, Robert's rule says you have to vote on the original motion first, and then you vote on the amended motion. Okay?
Okay. So we need to vote down the first amendment, and then we'll vote again. Do you know how to do that, Kellen?
I have a question on a friendly amendment. The first person, do we have to vote that way? I wasn't familiar with that.
If it's a friendly amendment, informally, you could do it that way, I suppose, yeah. Callan, you're off the hook.
What did we decide? We're just voting once for the amended motion. Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Okay, 9.10, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the cancellation of contract for Jillian Montoya. Mr. McAllister.
This is a confidential personnel matter issue, and the resolution is attached.
I make a motion to approve the cancellation of contract for Jillian Montoya.
Second.
We have a motion by Patty and a second by Tom. Is there any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Okay, we're now to 10 work session. So at this time, all the Colt team or the central office leaders can leave. Mr. McAllister can leave. Callan will move over, and we can move up Sherry Becker and Dr. John Neal. I can read his. And we will talk about the superintendent search discussion now. Sure, we can take a 5-minute break.
Okay, we're ready to roll. So thank you for having us back again this evening. I'm going to just tell you verbally what we'd like to accomplish this evening, and then, of course, there are some documents that are in front of you as well. So want to talk briefly about the timeline, the job description piece that I believe you were going to talk about at a committee meeting. We did develop a profile of sorts to guide the process, and then interview questions will be related to that as well. Wanted to just touch base on the salary survey, which we included in your packet, and the contract for the superintendent. Follow up on the engagement survey conversation that we had at the first work session for your public or your parents or staff about doing something like that. And then briefly touch on what type of assessment documents the board might like to have for the later parts of the process so that we can start developing that. So that seems like a lot, but it'll hopefully hum right along, so we aren't here for you to be too late. And also, while we were just on our quick break, I did hand Board Chair Carhart the agreement for the search process, because I have failed to provide that to this point, but you have obviously hired us and have done a lot of work already, but I just always forget about that darn agreement. So I got that there for you as well. So just to briefly touch on the timeline, there's a copy in your folder. We did email that out as well after the last work session. At this point, we don't have any meetings scheduled or work sessions scheduled between now and January 4th, simply because we hadn't scheduled them yet. We will probably have a couple more, because I like to do this in small chunks, and we're going to try and accommodate you to have them on days that you already have meetings so that you don't have to come for a special meeting with us. But that means just smaller chunks of time. So we'll talk about that at the end of this work session. But we have the deadline set for Sunday, January 4th. And then the final meeting with the board scheduled for Monday, January 12th. We had some discussion at the last meeting about interview date. And again, we probably don't have to exactly have it firmed up tonight, but wanting to just know if the board has had any other thought about that. Originally had it for Monday the 19th. Now, Dr. Neal, of course, checked calendars like I should have probably done. There is no school that day because it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And so whether or not you want to still have them on that day, I feel like a lot of times people don't have school that day. It might be more convenient for your interview candidates, but we want to be careful not to send the wrong message either if that's a date that you wouldn't typically have a board meeting. And then would they be all in one day, which is, I believe, the conclusion we came to last time was we would do them all in one day, but maybe have a second day or the next day for discussion so that you have the evening to sleep on it and come back together to talk about your thoughts. So let me know what you think of this and how we should move forward. The 19th would be the interviews.
Oh, but we don't have a meeting at all.
Today's Columbus Day in our meeting, so.
Exactly. That's fine with me. I just wanted to double check and.
Will we need other people here, like teachers and things? Because we're going to do some site visits and that, so we need some staff, even though they have the day off.
It is nice to have, it's nice when you interview to have education happening, and in my opinion. And so if that means you wait one day, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I'm not as concerned about the holiday. I'm more concerned about the school being closed, because you are going to want your candidates to be able to do some tours. And if you're closed that day, I'm assuming central office staff won't be here either. And certainly they can come in to participate in the process, but it is nice to have things humming along when there's candidates walking around. So whatever's convenient for you and whatever you think.
You might want to check that date, because typically in the past, they've used that as a professional development day for teachers.
That's correct, Cindy. It is a PD day, so there will be staff here.
I'm going to run out and ask.
The buildings probably won't be open though, or they will be open because staff will be in.
Depending on the PD schedule, I'm not sure, but there will be staff.
I mean, is there a reason why we couldn't push it to the end of the week instead of the beginning of the week? Like the 22nd and then the 23rd? Those 2 days versus the 19th and 20th?
It's a Monday.
Nothing really. We're just talking about dates. I mean, yeah, I don't think, even though that there might be time for during the personal development day, that it would be better to have them some other day when it's a regular day of school.
Okay. Well, we'll wait until Tom gets back, and then does the 20th work then? And to answer Steve, just from my perspective, I would just do it as early as you can. We pick the candidates, or not we, because we aren't picking them, but you'll pick your interview candidates the week before on the 12th, and so the closer that next week we can get, to the beginning is great, just because you just want them to happen and be done, so that if you hire a current superintendent, that's important to them too, to have it move along.
I'm okay with the 20th.
And then the 21st would be that follow-up day, and again, we can sort the time out later, but I would assume, I don't know if people will have to work, if you'll want to do it like at noon, or if you want to do it right away in the morning, but we'll plan on, for now, the interviews for the 20th, and then the 21st reserved for follow-up discussion. And
So
we
is
can.
is the 19th our normal second board meeting? No.
26.
It's more,
It'd probably be the 26th.
the second board meeting would be the 26th.
The 26th,
Mhm.
okay, so, okay.
You're right in the middle.
I'm okay with the 20th and 21st, so when Tom gets back.
Monday, the 12th would be our first board meeting.
That's when we're selecting the candidates.
Yeah.
And
would
we
work
will,
for me.
we will send that information out, candidate information, applicant information, I should say, to you all, so that you'll have an opportunity to read it before we meet with you on January 12th. So,
Is ESU 8 Professional Development Day at Norfolk High School. So we would not have a lot of our team available.
Just talking about moving it.
January. Okay, then I'm going to pencil down January 20th. We had talked at the last work session about doing like maybe a 2-hour chunk for the board, or at least an hour and a half. So I may start those before lunch. That way, you have plenty of time. I just think even if you've got time then that you're able to get up, use the restroom, just stretch a little bit, it'll help for the day instead of just rushing through everything. The next item that you should have in your packet is a copy of the job description. And could you just briefly tell me or tell us what ended up happening with your committee regarding job description?
We didn't talk about it, so.
Well, that was easy. Okay. So has everybody seen a copy of it, or looked at? Okay. I think what we'll do then is there will be some pieces of it that might be important, I guess, to the advertising. But let's wait and look at the leadership profile, and then we can circle back on this, because I think the important parts of the job description are also on this profile document on the backside, so we can talk about that and then decide what to do about the job description. So the next document, let's just move to that for now, the leadership profile. And you'll see on the back, we also included background, experience, and attributes desired. And if you look towards the bottom of that, the last bullet on the back page that talks a little bit about that, some of that job description type of work, prefer a doctorate degree in educational administration and blank years of experience as a superintendent, associate superintendent, or district office director, building principal. So we can talk about that when we come to it. But what we did was we took the notes from the spring, we took the notes that were identified from now, and we put that together into, it sort of categorized itself as we went through the most important bullets. We combined some things, and this seems to us like what you're looking for. It's a little shorter than some of the other documents we've been looking at. What we're looking for, I guess, is feedback. We want to be able to use this to help develop interview questions, and we want to use this to guide who's the most qualified candidates that you're looking at when you look at all the applications. And then, of course, just in general, when you're assessing candidates, this seems to be what you were describing to us of what you were looking for. So look through it, and we can make some changes to it. It's not something we're going to share with candidates necessarily, or applicants or interested parties, but we do need to have some bullets for the advertising of what you're looking for. So we can use, we can use this whole thing, we can use some on the back, but just to briefly touch on it, student achievement leadership, talking about programs, supporting student, staff, enhance learning, provide comprehensive academic opportunities, raising the student achievement through goal setting and accountability, target-based grading structure to support staff and administration in maintaining consistency and effectiveness with that. And then, again, a lot of these bullets are taken directly from comments that you all made at our last work session. So I will let you kind of look through it. And
one of the discussions we had in our finance committee subcommittee meeting was they're currently doing kind of a reboot of the PLC, and I think that we should add that as like experience coming from an environment with PLCs be important since we're doing that reboot this year.
thank you for mentioning that. Mr. Mack just mentioned that to us as well, that's become kind of a topic of consideration, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree with Steve. I would like to see the wording a little bit more specific, like experience driving PLCs forward or resolving challenges, however you want to term that.
Okay, and I'll just let you all finish reading that up instead of me reading it to you, and then we can chat about it.
I guess I have a concern about the word target-based, because in my research in Nebraska in particularly, most of the people didn't even know what that was. When you say target-based, could you just eliminate that, just and put grading structure? Because the superintendents might go, what's target-based grade? I mean, they might know, but a lot of the schools when we called, didn't even know what that was.
I think we have to leave that in only because we are currently using a target-based system, and we certainly wouldn't want someone that has no experience in it, because
You might eliminate a lot of people.
possibly, but if we take it out, it's something that we have to deal with right now. So I would rather have someone who has experience, positive or negative. I would rather have someone who has that strong experience, and whether it was a challenge for them that they decided not to go forward with anymore, or if it was something that they were able to positively implement, I think that would be valuable to us.
I agree with Cindy. I personally don't, obviously these things are internally for us, but it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me to interview a superintendent that did not have specific experience with that. My opinion. I think it would limit our pool of applicants.
they would be able to go on the website. I mean, I would assume that anybody who wouldn't be interested in the district, because we do have it. I mean, I agree. I would like somebody who's more qualified to exit target-based grading versus implement it.
On the back of the document, the background experience, it is a little more overarching general bullet regarding experience in leading improvement in curriculum instruction and assessment systems, including formative and summative methods of assessment and grading. So that is a general bullet as far as experience on the back.
I think that bullet is fine.
I agree.
Excellent. What other thoughts do you have about the, and again, it's more of an internal working document, however, we do use some of it for advertising.
We had had some discussions on that. We felt it was important that the superintendent and their family, if they have one, reside in the district. You know, I don't know how you would word that, but we all feel strongly about that, but it's not necessarily included in here. That
It's in here. Exhibit a commitment to the district by residing in the community, being present
Perfect.
and accessible to all.
Missed it. Thank you.
It's in the contract too, isn't it, Brenda? Their employment contract?
Don't think so.
It can be, and that we're going to talk about the contract here in a little bit, but yes, we did have the bullet in here for that, and I know that was pretty important to y'all.
I think the leadership profile is a very good breakdown of this, but based on what this board expressed, right?
We did go back and watch the YouTube video from the last work session to ensure that we had everything down. Okay, so moving on from this, I guess a couple questions that we would have. As far as the advertising goes, we don't usually use all of this. We can, if you would like us to, use more of the background experience and attributes desired, which cover a lot of the front parts as well. Any thoughts on that? Do you want to contribute your thoughts on the advertising, or would you like us to do what we typically do and just pick some bullets?
Sure, I think you guys specialize in that, so I would trust how you guys normally post it and publish it. I'd be good with that.
Sometimes when you get too wordy, that it's just not as effective.
Yeah, usually we try and have a few bullets that would be what you're looking for, but really what the advertising is to guide them to our website and to us so that they can get the information from us. And the people that take the time to contact us, which they should, we're able to verbally share those bullets and go through some of those things with them. We also have a marketing flyer, which we have most of done, that Matt Belka put together. If you want a copy, I can have Dr. Neal bring a copy around. And right now, it's just mostly community and school information, but we could add a little bit of the information on what you're looking for in it as well. This is just kind of our starting point. And then one other question regarding advertising. Is there someone here at the district that you want me to run any of the ads past, as far as that your HR or anything like that? Or again, I usually just put them up on the Teach in Nebraska site. We'll contact somebody here that can get it on the NCSA site, and then we do this marketing brochure that goes on. So is there somebody here that you think I should run any of the ads past, or are you okay with us taking care of it?
I would say since we have a PR person, she would be the logical, and she's sitting in the back of the room.
Tiffany Suttles, so.
We have talked before, so I will absolutely do that. Like, I just wanted to make sure that we had the right person.
I don't know, Sherry, if I dare ask this question, but based on everything that's gone on in Iowa, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Well, we only know what the news shares at this point, but background check companies, for example, the one we use and the one they used, they don't do the I-9, like the employment verification. That's done at the district level. It's not done typically at the background check level. Now, the doctorate part should have been caught because we do look at transcripts and we collect those transcripts to check and see if they've gotten their doctorate. So that part we do check. But the I-9 information, again, that's usually done at the school district level. We can add that in if it's something that you're concerned about. Normally, it would have been caught at that point. I don't know how it would have gotten past them. But again, you can't necessarily blame, like we use one source background check. They do a credit history, an adult and child abuse check, and they do a background like criminal history. According to what we were told by the background check company that actually did that background check, they did uncover some information related to criminal history and they brought that forward to the district. So that would have also been a red flag that would have been caught.
Okay, thank you.
And again, not knowing their internal, what they all talked about, it's hard to say. We hope nothing like that ever happens, and we sure do our best to make sure it doesn't happen.
Well, again, when we're dealing with the public, this has been in the news a lot, and a lot of people are asking questions because they know we're looking for a superintendent and they're concerned. So I just wanted to ask.
There's nowhere I can go where someone doesn't ask me about it. I was even bombarded at church on Sunday, and I went, okay, listen, I wasn't there. Anyway, no, I appreciate you asking, though, because it does allow us to explain the one source piece of it as well as what our screeners do. And I did obviously talk to John Spots about it. What can we do to improve our process? I emailed our screeners and said, please be sure you're checking those transcripts. That's why we have them. So we did put a few more internal checkpoints in place as well.
So at the point that you say the I-9 check is on the district, would that be done before we select the candidates to even interview?
Not typically. Usually what happens is, we can't onboard them because we're not the employer. So the onboarding process happens. That's one more step that we added, Steve, to our process is I usually send out, or somebody from our office will send out the full employment packet, even though you'll already have everything. We'll send a formal full employment packet as well as the one source background check copy to the district once the search is completed in January, and then we will ask them to put this with the employee's file. And then at that point, again, I'm adding in an extra step to just double check to say, please remember that the onboarding process is your responsibility, so you must complete the I-9 verification on your end. So that will come in the letter that we send in February or the end of January.
So I'm confused a little bit. So where in the hiring step is that INI that you're talking about? Where is that at?
It happens from the district. You have to do that on the district end. And so
Before they can, onboarding, right before they start.
Subject to, you've got contingencies and what we're offering them as a contract, and that would be one of them. Right.
Okay. See, I'm not a business person, so sorry.
And it's the HR piece of it. Like I said, it was interesting conversation when this all came about, and everyone, even in our office, was going, oh my gosh, how did that happen? And I said, we can't do the I-9. It's not part of the process we can do. So if you feel like you want it to be done differently, certainly we can talk about that. This is kind of a strange circumstance that I've not heard of happening before, but.
Do we get, confirming education and the people we are outsourcing to for the background? Can us board members get copies, like for sure the doctorate's been confirmed or the education can we get some kind of written verification that in fact that was checked?
So on our end at our office, we have the screeners that screen that information. You will get copies of their transcripts as well. And so you can look and see what they got for their, whatever schooling they've done throughout.
And Sherry, I'm assuming that, if a background check comes back and there's criminal record, you would be red flagging that for us.
Right, so
Right,
what
that's
happens
not
is
something-
they've already filled out the one-source background check release form, I guess you would call it. And so what we'll do is, once we get closer to we wait until it's pretty close to when you're picking your applicants or your candidates, because a lot can happen between now and January. And then we'll do that background check, and we will provide for you anybody that you interviewed of what their background check, if there was anything that came up that was a red flag. The only thing we've really had that we haven't been aware of, sometimes people don't have a fishing license and they get a ticket, people tell us about everything. But we have had a couple credit background checks come back not great the last couple years. And so we'll make you aware of all that. If I have somebody working on the budget, I probably want them to have a good credit. All good questions, thank you.
But you said you don't do that until we've already identified who we're interviewing.
What we will do, Patty, is we'll actually do it like a couple weeks before anybody that's risen to the top, I guess you'd say, because the DHHS takes like 2 weeks to get back usually, and so that's not enough time oftentimes. So it's supposed to be on your finalists, but we'll process it a couple weeks before, just so that you, and if that means we process 7 people and you only interview 4, that's okay.
My point, we want to interview them. So we don't want to waste time interviewing someone that we're not going to hire.
It'll be
Right.
done by then, yeah. Okay, so we are moving on now from the leadership profile a little bit. I want to refer to it as we talk about interview questions. So we do have the list of questions that you're not supposed to ask. That's the next document you'll see, and it's just a front and back questions that John Spots put together, and he checks those every year for me to ensure that they're still accurate. So obviously you can look at those on your own time. And then the next questions that are stapled together are the questions that we emailed out to you ahead of time so that you would have time to look. So I would like to have just a little bit of discussion on how you would like to formulate interview questions. There may be some in the packet that you liked, but also, as Dr. Neal and I talked about this, would maybe like to try and formulate questions more based off of your leadership profile, so they're directly related to what you're looking for. And Dr. Neal, do you have anything else you'd say about that piece of it?
The leadership profile will guide the questions, because you want the questions to line up with the goals that you have for each candidate, and that's built off also your job description and what you're looking for in your evaluation. They all work together as kind of a partnership of activities that you do as the board, both in the hiring and then in the follow-through. So capturing the right questions to match exactly what you're looking for the candidate can be very powerful.
So as you looked at the interview question packet that we sent out, do you believe there are questions in that packet that you want to ask or that you would like to ask? If so, we can have you identify the questions you like, and you can let us know, or you could go through them now. And then also in drafting interview questions that are more specific to the profile, Dr. Neal is planning to do that piece of it, but if anybody else would like to write interview questions or write a few or specific ones, you're more than welcome to participate in that as well and work with Dr. Neal.
I think there's way too many to go over tonight. I think we need to how many, we're doing 20 questions? Is that what we decided?
I would say 20 to 25, just depending on, we don't want to eliminate any questions that you really want to ask. So if that means it's 24 or 25, that's fine. And then we'll base our time slots off of how many questions you have as a board.
Did this come from our last interview process, or this is just what you have on file? So we each need to pick out 25 that are important to us? What's the easiest process?
You could. Usually we'll have you pick a couple from each section. Maybe there's some sections you don't like, maybe any questions, and maybe there's some you like 3. And so I can send a template out and you can identify questions and we can start from there. And then at our next work session, talk about here's where we're at with these. that were aligned, and here's ones that weren't. And then we also need to develop questions still that would be related to this or this or this. So we could start that way if you want.
Sherry, could you send out a copy of what we did when we had the 25 questions for Mr. McAllister, so we could look through those?
I think I thought I had them at the first work session. We had them, but I'll email them out so you have them fresh.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll email them out so that you have them fresh. I can also email this in the same one, and then again, some instructions. And if you want to contribute your responses, that's awesome.
So when I'm interviewing for a company, I'll ask a pertinent question, and then as a follow-up to that question is like, can you provide me an example of an experience that backs that up? None of these do that. Is that appropriate in this environment, or that where you'd ask them to give an example, a real life example?
Yes, and thank you for asking that, because I want to talk about follow-up questions as well. There are some in here that say, please give us a specific example of blah. And we can rewrite any of these to say that. So please understand this is just a guide. We can have any of them that say, we want you to give us a specific example of a time when you were in budget crisis and what did you do to get out of it, whatever. But also you can ask follow-up questions. So if somebody answers a question and you aren't feeling like they gave you enough of an answer or didn't answer the question you actually asked, you can ask follow-ups. You just can't ask new questions to candidate number 2 that you didn't ask to candidate number 1. And I know this, during our first work session, this came up a little bit because Dr. Neal mentioned something and Dr. Goebbels followed up with, but we have to ask the same questions to each candidate, and that is correct. But you can ask follow-ups. You can also ask if there's something specific on their application or resume that they hadn't touched on at the end of the interview, and you realize, well, gosh, I was hoping they would talk about this program they created. You can say, at the end of the interview, one of you might say, there's one other question I have for you. You didn't talk at all about this program. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Can do that with that specific applicant, right?
If they have specific information on their resume or application and they haven't talked about it yet, you could ask them about that. And yes, you do have to ask them all the same questions in the same order, preferably. However, if you do have somebody that is just rambling and repeating and redundant, you can say, as the board chair, well, we still do have 15 questions left and it's already been an hour. And then at the end of that 2 hours or hour and a half or whatever we're going to allow, if they haven't gotten to all of them, then so be it. Because we will ask you to have a copy of the questions on the desk in front of them, just like you did with Mr. McAllister. And they can see how many questions they have left and they know how much time they're allowed. So if they can't be succinct, your board meetings might be really long.
So they know when we start the interview how long it's going to be.
They will receive a copy of the interview schedule. Once you pick them as an interview candidate, we'll decide what order you want them to be in, and we'll send that schedule out so they'll know exactly how much time is allowed.
It's also okay to remind the candidates, we have this amount of time. We'd like you to monitor your responses to get done in that amount of time so that they know that they're responsible for getting it done on time, not you as the board. And because that is one way to look at how a candidate moderates their speaking to meet their audience. The other, as you look through the list of questions, they are grouped by experiences that the superintendent has, but you also want to have your leadership profile close by and continue to cross-check. I might have all the experiences, a question each experience, but do I also have a question for each part of the leadership profile?
And we'll also be comparing that, and like I said, I'm sure we'll have to draft some questions more specific to you all that aren't in this question packet. So, but if it's okay, we'll just do that as a first step of homework. If that's okay, I'll email that out tomorrow. And like I said, Dr. Neal will be working through the interview questions, so we'll do that. Any other thoughts on the interview questions part of it?
I think that's a great place to start.
I'm just checking my list here so I don't miss anything. Okay, the next topic that we'll hit on here quickly is the salary survey, and you will see that last document, I believe. It's a statewide salary survey that has a lot of information on there for you, and unfortunately, you're in a strange window of enrollment, a great window, but a strange window because there's not a lot of districts that are really close to your enrollment size. I picked up, I think, 6. I added a 7th. And so I just did an array to kind of see where the salaries for these very similar districts were at. And it was about 228 was about the median. So just to give you an idea, but we just want to provide this document so you have time to look through it and poke around and see if there's any districts that you are aware of or that you usually compare yourselves to that you would want to see what they're getting paid. This is this year's.
I guess, maybe not so much. I just remember that in previous contracts, it wasn't the base, it was all the benefits we added that got so expensive. I mean, do these guys contribute, does the school contribute their part of their retirement fund? Do they pay for full family health insurance for, forever? The benefits, I guess, salary is, that's one part of it, but I guess I'm wondering how do they handle these benefits?
And if
deduction out for insurance doesn't tell me anything. I want to know who pays for the health insurance first.
So we do have a lot of that information, but also the Superintendent Transparency Bank that is on the NDE website. We use that an awful lot to get that information. If you were to pinpoint for us, or if I can tell you the districts that I looked at, and Dr. Neal would be happy to go on, I think, and check the Transparency Bank and get that information because it's in their contracts typically, as much as we can anyway.
They're all public, aren't they? Is that what you're talking about? Because I've looked at several.
Yep, but if you want us to compile some information for you, we're happy to do that. So the districts that we looked at were Bennington, Columbus, Hastings, North Platte, Ralston, South Sioux City, and I added in Fremont at the last minute just to have one more, but Fremont.
You just got a new superintendent, right? Fremont did?
They did, but adding his into the array bumps it up another $4,000 because he had been there for a while as their business person, and so he's being compensated on the higher end, I would say.
Could you list those again, please? I didn't.
Absolutely. Bennington, Columbus, Hastings, North Platte, Ralston, South Sioux City, and then Fremont's enrollment is 5,300, so it's a little bit more than where you're at.
I'm not seeing on here, on this chart, not retirement, but what do you call it, the benefit that, is it retirement or like a retirement plan?
It's not on here.
That's what we were talking about, Cindy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All
So-
those, their actual contracts, the law changed, they have to have it all transparent. So because what was happening is districts were not, they were only showing the salary. So on the flip side, what they were doing is they were changing their benefits. And so people caught on to that. And
Well, the ones
so
I
they
looked
made-
at, when I looked on the transparency thing, very, very few of them even mentioned retirement.
It's there.
It depends upon if the district also posted the Schedule D, because it's not always in the contract, but the Schedule D should have it on there, and they don't all have that posted. But we'll check these districts, and if there's any others you want us to check, you can email or let us know, and we'll put together a little more comprehensive information on that.
Thank you, that'd be appreciated.
Next question for you is the superintendent contract. So obviously having an interim, you used an interim contract. That's going to be different than your permanent contract. Would you be able to reach out to KSB, or is that your school attorney? Perry? perfect, Perry. If you could reach out to Perry and ask them to send a copy of your blank, what they would say would be the template for your superintendent contract. And the reason I say that is because even though it's really early right now, if the board wants to make any changes to it, it will need to be done before you interview, because you will be sending a contract home with someone, or you will be emailing it to them, and it needs to be ready by then. So this gives us a little bit of wiggle room for the board members to contribute if they like or don't like parts of it. And if you get it, you can either email it to me and I'll email it out to the board, or however you want to handle that. Okay. Okay, just a few last things. The engagement survey. We talked about it at the last work session, possibly having some sort of a survey to ask for input from, people who may want to contribute thoughts on what you're looking for. I don't think we came to consensus. We don't have to do it. Not all districts do it, but I just wanted to bring it back in case if anybody still was thinking about it and wanted us to move forward and do something.
What did we decide? That people don't engage, right? Is that what we concluded?
We talked about that, but I don't know that we ever really.
We want to, but I don't.
Yeah,
but
what we
people
talked
don't
about
show
was
up.
being very careful not having any kind of a formal meeting. But we had actually talked about actually sending some surveys out to some people in the community. That's what I thought, to my recollection, we kind of agreed that may be the best way to get some input.
I think there was some sense of sending a survey that the entire community could participate in, but doing some targeting invitation that you knew there were some people that had some thoughts or some groups you wanted to make sure to hear from. And so both included a universal invite, so everyone had the opportunity, but making sure that it was pushed out.
I think it's important to provide the opportunity for anybody who wants to respond. I mean, I think that's really
I do
important.
too, and I think that's what we were saying. We gave the opportunity, and if people don't respond, which we want them to, but in the event that we have a low turnout, we did offer it.
So are there any specific questions? Because I know Steve had mentioned some different questions that we would typically use. Typically, it's more of a, what do you believe the challenges are? What do you believe are the strengths? Are there attributes you'd like to look for? I know you had mentioned asking, what are you looking for in graduates from our school, things like that, which I think are great questions, but maybe for an advisory committee or, if something like that. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know how to get the information out or the correct way to find it, but I want to be interviewing and knowing when I'm interviewing whether they're coming from a school district that has been successful, what they've been rated, have they seen an increase, has their testing scores gone down since they've been there, or have they gone up? The actual metrics.
Talking about the survey.
You're talking about applicants.
I'm sorry, I'm confused then. Yeah.
We're talking about the survey sent out to the city of Norfolk saying, what would you like? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? To give feedback on what they want in a superintendent.
Sorry,
Example,
too long then.
Sherry, I mean, do you have
Again?
do you have something you can provide to us in an email that you've sent out in the past or something?
I can, yes. I think I may have brought that to the last meeting, but I'll send it out to you. So it is, the questions are, tell us what you believe, the strengths are of Norfolk Public Schools and of the community. And then it's, what do you believe the challenges are currently? So this would be to survey the, and I probably just wasn't clear, but to survey the community, and you could send it to staff and administration, and there's a box that they can click and say, I'm a staff member, I'm a community member, I'm a parent. So you'll get the data separated and know, what it is. And we can go through too and kind of summarize it for you, but gives people the opportunity.
I mean, how do we get it out to people? I mean, I was thinking put it on our Norfolk Public Schools website, but how else do we have to put something paper for the community members, or how do we get it?
Yep, great question. Usually what we do is we do have you put a link, we have a link that we'll create and we'll put it on your Facebook page or your school district website. And it's usually open for a couple of weeks. And so then we'll also have them put something in the paper to guide them to the link on the website. And that's typically how we do it, is just try and get the word out best we can to people. And then again, it's just an opportunity for them to contribute their thoughts.
Can board members share it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Restricted, like
No,
grab
it's no
the link and
restrictions.
then-
Yeah, I can email the link out to all of you and you can share it with whoever you'd like.
So when you compile that, how does a compilation of the results?
Well, that's a great question because currently we have two different systems we could use. Qualtrics, which would actually give us a little bit better way to separate the information out for you. Because the other one, I'm afraid if you get a lot of responses, it's just a lot to read through. We'll probably use Qualtrics is what we'll use. Is there a certain way that you want it sorted? Because again, we usually just sort by, I guess, what group they fall into, and then we can sort it further from there.
Like business community, parents of students, teachers, okay.
And we'll probably do administrator, teacher, community member, parent. And we could put business leader if you want us to have that distinction between community member and business, but.
Yeah, I think that all goes in the same bucket, doesn't it?
Probably.
But I was just going to say.
They'll probably hit the community button and go, oh, wait a minute, I'm a business leader. Okay, so we'll get that.
Business leaders.
We'll get that rolling, but first, I'll get the paperwork going for it, but I will email it out. If you want to see the questions, I can email it out to you first, and that way I'll give you a week or so to respond if you have any concerns. Okay. The kind of last item that I wanted to be sure we talk about is assessment documents. So we talked about this a little bit in the spring, what you want, or if you want anything, a rubric of some kind to be able to assess either the applications or the interview process. And I think some people just prefer to read the material and say, I like this person's, what they have to say, and other people like to score things. And so I just thought we should get some sense of what you would like to see, if anything, so we could start creating something.
To speak for myself, I would rather just read it and make my decision. I don't need to score anything.
The same.
I agree. And Cindy?
I'm good with that too.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we were doing it how you wanted it done. All right, Dr. Neal, what did I forget?
I wondered, okay, because it has been a point of topic, on our last profile, do we need to go back? Are we going to doctorate preferred, and how many years of experience? Do we need to finalize that question or finalize that?
Yes,
Make the
thank you for circling back on that. Yes, we probably should have some discussion on what you would like that part of it, because I will put that in the ad.
That's an important part. It makes
is.
or breaks some people, so.
And, maybe you don't want to have a number in that blank years of experience. I hate to have somebody that's, not able to put their application in who might be a really good applicant because they see that they need 7 years experience and they only have 6. But it's up to you guys.
I like doctorate preferred, no years experience, because we'll be reading their resume.
I'd rather have you.
No, but no experience. But I
say
don't know
no,
that. Yeah,
but
I don't
not
know that it needs to
specifically
be
stated.
like maybe 2 years or.
If we were going with how this reads, it's saying X amount of years experience as a superintendent, associate sup, district office director, or building principal. Like, if we have applicants that have less than probably 4 years experience in all of those areas, we probably shouldn't be talking to them. You know what I mean? Like, that's such a broad description of experience. Like, basically, have you ever been an administrator in a public school district? That's basically what it's asking. So, I mean, I don't actually, I understand how we want, just like what you said, Sherry, we want to keep it as least restrictive as possible because we don't want to miss out on candidates. But I also think that we should have some level of experience.
Because I don't want, just for their sake too, don't apply, don't waste your time applying if we really have something set in our mind that if they don't have 5 years, we're not going to talk to them anyway. I think we need some ground rules so that we get just the best and we don't get everybody that, because it does take time to do the application and the resume, and if we aren't going to accept it anyway, why they shouldn't be shouldn't waste their time. So this means they can have a doctorate and just be a building principal, and we would accept them?
You don't have to have a doctorate.
Yeah, we're saying don't have optional. I suggested, not we.
Mary, how soon do you need this information? I'm only asking because we have in policy a number and written what's required. I don't think we're in the position to determine that tonight. I think it needs to go to policy committee, and policy committee needs to make a recommendation to bring to the board for approval. So I don't want to hold you up, but I also don't want to be in a position that we're not following our own policies.
There's something in policy. You're exactly right.
Doctorate preferred, and then it says 5 years experience as a superintendent or associate superintendent. That's what the policy currently reads.
When did that change? We've had superintendents that didn't have that.
I would have to go back and look at the revision dates on it. I didn't look at the revision dates on it, but it's 2110. It's the appendix, but it is right there with the policy, so it's included part of the policy.
That's the policy, 2110.
What that means is we probably need a policy committee meeting, Tom.
I was just going to say, what's your timeline look like there? That's a great point. That's a great point. And it's not in everybody's policy, so I'm glad you pointed that out. I appreciate that. So when will the policy committee be meeting?
When, Tom, Patty?
I believe it's November 4th. It's the 3rd, yeah. So this 2110 was reaffirmed last November. It looks like it was revised in 2019, so we reaffirmed it last year.
I think she was meeting, because our previous superintendent wasn't a superintendent or associate superintendent, I think is where.
But she was hired before this policy was in effect.
Yep.
Okay.
Change the policy, now it reads superintendent or associate superintendent.
Okay, so you said the policy committee next scheduled to meet on November, did you say 6th? Oh, 3rd.
But
Okay.
do you need this before that? I mean, there's nothing that would keep us from having another policy committee meeting because we like to have them so much.
But once, like you said, once the policy committee meets, and then they need to make a recommendation to the full board, right? And when is your next board meeting?
That's a good question too, because we have one scheduled for the 27th, but we didn't know if we were going to keep it. We were waiting on negotiations to see if they got some information from their, that they need to meet to give us so that the board can meet and discuss some parameters for negotiation. So if we got that information, negotiations could prepare to us and give to us, then we would have a meeting. If we didn't have that information, we weren't going to have a meeting, but now maybe we need the meeting just so that we can do a first reading on a policy? Is that what policy committee is thinking?
How soon are you going to need this? You haven't answered really yet.
You're right, I haven't, because I'm just going to let you guys work out a few things here, and then I'll
But
say,
no
never
need
mind. So here's
I
the
guess,
thing.
yeah, if we're not changing it, we don't need to read it again. I mean, we don't need, if it is what it is.
Well, the discussion I was hearing implied that people wanted to change it. That's why I mentioned it.
Well, so if I'm tracking correctly, whatever type of experience and educational requirements we post should correspond with what our policy says.
It
So-
should, and
We're all saying that we want to have a less restrictive educational and experience requirement, which would require a policy change. Or can we say it's Norfolk Public Schools Board policy that you must have a doctorate, blah, 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 blah. However, we will accept candidates that do not meet this requirement, given blah, 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 blah.
Is that possible when it's not policy?
Amending your policy.
So we need to have a policy meeting.
If we agree that we all want that to be less restrictive than our policy,
Has to change.
if we want to change it to 3 years versus 5 or 2 years or.
Education level, the way the policy reads, doctorate degree preferred, must qualify Nebraska Administrative Supervisory Certificate, experience desired, not required, desired, 5 years prior experience as a superintendent or associate superintendent, preferred.
Okay, so then we don't need to change
So we're really
it.
okay, defer, yeah.
Then we don't need it. We could just put that in the job description. It's desired, it's not required, and preferred.
we can work with that,
Yeah,
if that's what the board's
that was by,
desire.
I'm sure it was
I'm
by
okay with that.
design when they changed the policy.
So use the wording in our policy. And
Okay, and that was policy 2110. And we will be sure that we have the wording correlate precisely with that. And that worked out good, Steve. I didn't have to make a decision on how soon I need it.
Perfect.
But I was going to say soon. No, we'll probably try and get the advertising completed and approved to get posted this week. Okay, what other topics did you all want to be sure that you discussed tonight? Anything that you had on your mind you wanted to ask about? Otherwise, we probably need to figure out when we'll come back to finish discussion on interview questions. And we haven't addressed interview schedule yet regarding who's going to be involved. If we want to talk about that real quick, just to get some conversation flowing on it, we can. We don't have to make any decisions, but are you going to want to have, usually if we're looking at interviewing 4 candidates, you would have 4 groups. So that might be the board, there'll be a tour, sorry, a little aggressive with the mic. There'll be a tour, and then you could potentially have 2 other groups help, which one might be, building administrators and or district office. Do you want to have a couple teachers involved? I think last time with the interims, you just did one group of staff or administration combined.
I didn't like about that process, I think it's a good idea, but what I didn't like about it is, did we hear anything from those people who went around? They did give us a summary. But yeah, you're right. Yes, they actually came in, didn't they?
No, they gave us just written.
We
Just a
usually
written.
do a written, the group will do a written list of strengths and a written list of weaknesses that they identified as a group with each candidate. And you'll look at the strengths in open session and then closed session to review any weaknesses. We don't typically have the board invite them in to talk because of a couple of things. One, it makes your meeting really long. 2, it's too easy for them to then tell you who to hire because it just flows into it. And 3, we don't really want to invite them into closed session to talk about weaknesses for that same reason. And we can't talk about weaknesses in open session. So there's just a variety of reasons why it seems to work better to have strengths and weaknesses. However, we can do it differently if you'd like to.
That makes
I think
sense.
the same group structure that we used for the interim worked out well. I mean, it was, their strengths and weaknesses that they reported were very similar to the ones we discussed, so it was actually.
You don't want to have
reasonable.
a community business.
No, as long as they're given the survey and the opportunity to compile that data.
I was just trying to find that copy. Oh, here we go.
If we need to have 4 groups for uniformity in the process, do we want to have a separate teachers group?
That is up to the board. What you had last time was a leadership team, which included district administration and then building administrators. So you had 4 on the leadership team from the district administration, and you had 5 building administrators, 2 elementary, the middle school, the junior high, and the senior high.
Just as I'm thinking out loud, if we're going to have teachers, we're going to have to pay for subs then too. In that I don't want teachers, I very much would like their opinion, just because, I understand why we did do it with the interim, but for a permanent superintendent that they're going to be working with, I would like that feedback.
And I would include staff, a few staff members as well. I think this needs to be everybody who's associated with Norfolk Public. So I would include some staff members there that are not certified.
So we'll have to come to some sort of a decision on how we're going to select those individuals. And it could even be something where you have, maybe somebody at the district level that would make some suggestions and.
The same people for all 4 of them?
Yeah, because.
That's a lot of time to ask. But.
It'd be the whole day, most likely. But you want them to be able to. Well, and yeah, it's not like they're going to compare and tell you we liked this one better, but then they've seen them all, so they know what to write. So any thoughts on how you would like those individuals to be selected? And/or, you want to use the same leadership team and building administrators that you used for the interim process, and then add some staff and maybe a few teachers?
I think the district team was good because we had all the building administrators and then someone from each department here in central office. For the teacher and staff group, I would almost ask for volunteers, because at least then they're going to want to provide feedback, not voluntold or whatever it might be. And then if we get a lot of volunteers, then we can trim it down, but those are just my thoughts.
I agree with that. On the team that has you had the junior high and the high school, but you only chose 2 elementary? Maybe we could mix that up and get 2 different elementary versus the 2 that they chose for the interim. Otherwise, they're like, well, why does this, choose 2 different elementary building principals. Right, so it's just not the same people that did it last time. But the team that was selected here, I don't recall who was the team that were included from the staff here in the building.
It was Angie Bowman, Chuck Hughes, Mary Lure, and Jared Oswald. And then I believe that Mr. Wilson did a tour.
Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't be opposed to having all the elementary principals be a part of it, just so they all have the opportunity instead of just selecting a couple schools. Each one of our elementaries is very different.
Yeah. And at that point, now you're picking and choosing. Like, if they're willing to do it, then, or maybe give them the opportunity, I guess. Would you like to be part of this?
We would like you to be a part of it, however.
Correct.
Okay. So that's fine on the building administrators and the leadership team, if you're fine with that piece. And then going back to the teachers and staff, we have done before where we've gone through the teachers organization, that would be for the teacher part at least, to email out and say, would you like to participate in this? Or, they are looking for a few people that might want to participate. If you're interested, please get us your name by such and such a time and date. And then you can have a committee, one of your committees of the board, trim it down or whatever that looks like. Because you don't need to have 10 people involved, 10 teachers, you know what I mean? And then I don't know about the staff, and also I would assume all your teachers are members of the, they're not, so I don't know if that's how you want to do that.
Yeah, they're not, so.
I think
How do we
again, give
reach-
them the opportunity.
Right, but if she says they're reaching out to the teachers deal to send it out, those who
Go
are
to
not
every-
members wouldn't get it.
Oh, yeah,
I
no,
think-
sorry.
Right, so we'd have to figure
They
out how
have
to
us
invite.
all, they have emails for everybody.
Gonna say,
in the
we'll just
entire
have-
school system.
Yeah.
Whether it's staff or whether it's teachers, they've sent out emails to everybody. And they have that access to do that. So you could just send out a school-wide email.
So as
Well-
far as the trimming it down on the teachers, would the superintendent evaluation committee, is there a committee that we could put in charge of trimming it down to the 5 or whatever?
Okay, that's how we'll plan on doing it. Last question on this, I promise. Do you want us to wait a little while before we pull the trigger on those emails so there's not quite as much time in between now and the interviews? Or do you care if it's done in the next few weeks? Or how would you like us to proceed timing-wise? Okay, get an email sent out in the next couple weeks.
So do you typically have a time frame that you leave surveys open, or do you leave them open until we say close it?
So the surveys are not what I was talking about just now. I was talking about the email to the staff to see who wants to participate, but I'll answer that as well.
Only thing with that, if we choose 5, I would keep 4 in reserve, because if we start it now, by January, people change their mind, they get busy, that's the only bad thing about opening up now. I'd keep reserve so we could fill them in.
Right. So I'll talk to Mr. McAllister about that here in the next week or so. And then as far as the survey, Tom, which is what I think you were talking about, so we usually leave it open for just 2 weeks. I mean, if there's not a deadline, it's done. They'll forget about it, and nobody new is going to contribute anyway. So we usually leave it open for about 2 weeks. Yes, like jury duty. I'm still waiting. I'm supposed to be on jury duty starting tomorrow, but they haven't called me yet. So anyway, that is everything that we had to go over this evening. So you'll be getting an email from me regarding the interview questions. And if there's any that you want to draft on your own that you are thinking of, or as it relates to the leadership profile, go ahead and draft some questions and get them to us too, and we'll include those to be considered next time. When will we meet again? That's my last question for you for real.
November 10th?
Your next meeting is November 10th, is that what you said? I can make it work. Can you make that work, Dr. Neal? Yeah, okay. Yes, that should be fine, and we will have advertising out by then, and I think that'll give us a great few weeks here to get some things lined up. So November 10th, and that's part of your regular board meeting again at the end here. Okay, thank you.
The other thing, I'm looking at, just glancing at your advertisement, Board of Education, Terry and Cindy came on together. They should both have 3 years, and Tom Stanton should have at least 2 to 3, right? Yeah, but maybe if they've had 3, you've had 2.
She was on a year, wasn't she? So
That
I'd
would be
say
the
2
same
years.
as Cindy and.
I had Mr. Wilson fill that out, so he got that information, but
But if he's filling out Lindsay's term, it would be the same as Cindy and Kay, right? Or Cindy, experience, got it. I didn't hear that, I said when.
Just saying you have more than Steve.
Yeah, I'm 3 years.
okay, so
3 years.
Terry's
And you
3,
should be 2 then.
Tom's 2,
Yeah.
Cindy's,
3.
okay, and the others are right then?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. was going to say, you won't have worked a full day and everything too, so, yeah.
This regular scheduled meeting is actually the 27th. I'll let you know this week. We're waiting on negotiation information. If we get that, we'll have to meet to talk about negotiations. If we don't, we're not going to cancel the meeting. I will let you know for sure by Friday, but as soon as I hear from Mr. McAllister or Eric Wilson, I'll send out an email whether we're going to have it. Otherwise, our next meeting will be November 10th at 5:30 in the central office building. Meeting adjourned.